Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday. All morning, I was thinking it was Tuesday for some reason. And then I realized it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. So, what are we doing today? I'll be looking at Crossplane today. I'm kind of a surprise I haven't looked at this before. It's been out for a while, and I've heard about it and seen people talk about it, but I've never really took the time to try it out myself and see what it is and see what it does. So that's what I'll be doing today. If this is your first time, so the way that this works is I pick a project, I pick a technology, I pick something, and then I go through it live. I haven't gone through this before. In this case, I haven't even installed the CLI. If there is any, I don't even know. Um, so yeah, I try to learn as I go through it and try to figure out things as my on my own. So this is not pre-scripted, not scripted, not prepared, just off the cuff. And yeah, all right. Anyway, if you have questions, comments, if you've looked at Crossplane before, if you see me do something really stupid, let me know in the comments. So I'm not going to go down that path then. But all right. Anyway, so what is Crossplane? Crossplane.io. It's a cloud-native control plane framework, and it says that you can build control planes without needing to write code. Crossplane has a highly extensible backend that enables you to orchestrate applications and infra no matter where they run, and a highly configurable front end that lets you define the declarative API it offers. So first thing that comes to mind is Kubernetes controllers, but maybe that's not it. Let's see. So Upbound is the company that created it. They have a lot of Slack members. So it's extensible. Providers, kind of applications, puts you in a control. It's built on solid foundation. All things Crossplane, marketplace. Okay. All right. So let's go through the docs and getting started. Yeah, there is a getting started section there. Let's see. Let's make this a little bit smaller before we go there. All right. So Crossplane is an open source Kubernetes extension that transforms your Kubernetes cluster into a universal control plane. So it lets you manage anything, anywhere, all through standard Kubernetes API. So Kubernetes API to rule them all, I guess. It can even let you order a pizza. All right. So actually a blog post. Okay. If it has an API, Crossplane can connect to it. Platform teams can create new abstraction and custom APIs with the full power of Kubernetes policies, namespaces. Oh, okay. So brings all your non-Kubernetes resources as well under one roof. Custom APIs. Okay. So anything, it sounds like standard Kubernetes API for anything. That's how this reads, right? Doesn't matter what it is. You can, whatever you can do with, let's say, Kubernetes deployments or anything else that's defined in the Kubernetes API, services, pods, whatever, you can do with anything else with your APIs as well, I'm guessing, right? All right, so what is a control plane? So control planes create and manage the life cycle of resources. So the control planes constantly check that the intended resource exists, report when the intended state doesn't match reality, and act to make things right. Crossplane extends the Kubernetes control plane to be a universal control plane to check, report, and act on any resource anywhere. All right, so it does sound, and maybe I'm mixing the terminology here a little bit, but it does sound very similar to the concept of a Kubernetes controller, right? Where you define your new resource, whatever it is, your CRD, you deploy the controller, and you code that controller. You write the code, you write the business logic in that controller that constantly monitors for that type of resource. So let's say and resources, what I'm talking about here is think Kubernetes pods, think Kubernetes deployments, Kubernetes services. But let's say I want to create a resource called my HTML website, right? So there's a custom resource called HTML website, and it allows me to describe my HTML website with a YAML, any YAML. But in order for Kubernetes to do something with that, you need some sort of a controller and or control plane. And I'm using these terms interchangeably here, and we'll see if someone will correct me at some point. But you have to write some logic, some business logic, because YAML CRD as such doesn't have any logic. Kubernetes doesn't know what to do with it, right? So you have to tell your controller to say, oh, okay, so when there's a new, either when there's a new resource created, new HTML website resource created, I want you to do this. For example, what you could say is, so there's a new HTML website resource. So what we're going to do is we'll see the HTML site that's defined in that YAML resource. We're going to read the metadata. We'll do something and then deploy that website to somewhere, right? So that would be like what happens on a create. And then what happens on delete, right? The inverse, right? You want to delete that thing. And then also what happens on changes, right? So let's say you change the title, you change the content, whatever it is, you need some logic behind it, right? And that's what control plane / controller does. Basically, create and manage the lifecycle of your resource. And they're saying Crossplane extends the Kubernetes control plane to be a universal one to check to do these things on any resource anywhere. All right, so let's get started. Getting started. I want to get my own cluster, but I don't want to do AWS or GCP or Azure. I want to do like kind, and I'm hoping there's a way to do that. I'm sure there is. So introduction. So it connects your cluster to an external non-Kubernetes resource and allows platform teams to build custom Kubernetes API to consume those resources. So Crossplane creates CRDs that represent the external resources as native Kubernetes objects. So HTML site could run outside of Kubernetes, for example, if we go with that, right? And then you can use create, describe, etc., the full Kubernetes API, right? So whatever you use for your deployments, whatever you use for your pods and services, etc., you can use for your HTML site. So let's say we have a CRD, just writing things down so I don't change the example in the middle of this. So HTML, it's a HTML website, right? So we would have a kind, whatever. Like we'll come up, like it'll show us how to do this, right? So Crossplane, there you go. Crossplane also acts as a Kubernetes controller to watch the state of external resources and provide state enforcement. So uh, uh, you create a resource, and in your resource you're describing the desired state, and then that controller is going to take that desired state and make sure to realize it somewhere, right? Provide state enforcement, right? So if something modifies or deletes resources outside, if something modifies or deletes a resource outside of Kubernetes, Crossplane reverses the change or recreates the deleted resource. Sense. So with Crossplane installed in a cluster, users only communicate with Kubernetes, and then Crossplane manages the communication to external resources like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. All right, so this sentence here makes me think that this might be, I have a Kubernetes cluster, and since they're mentioning cloud, like cloud providers, it will allow me to manage cloud provider resources, a VM, an IP address, a VPC, or whatever. Think of pretty much anything that has an API. If we go through there, like what they mentioned, right? I would deploy the resource that represents that in my cluster and then manage it from there, right? So you don't have to manage it. You manage it in Kubernetes cluster or in your dev platform, internal developer platform, or wherever you're managing it, instead of in these different clouds, right? So this kind of makes sense, because then you can abstract the whole. It doesn't matter if my VM is in Azure, Google, AWS, or any other cloud provider. I create a resource in Kubernetes, and it's just a VM, right? Probably has a pointer to which cloud it runs on, but it's one way to abstract it. Also allows creation of custom Kubernetes API. So platform teams can combine external resources and simplify or customize the APIs presented to the platform consumers. Okay, All right, this I'm not clear, but we'll see. All right, so components. There's a lot of them. So there's a provider creates a new Kubernetes custom resource definition for an external service, the configuration for that provider, a managed resource. So that's a provider resource created and managed by Crossplane inside the cluster. So provider. So what is an external service? Let's check this one because I'm curious if this is like a cloud provider or any API provider. If we think on the API level, right, that has some resources in some way. All right. So Crossplane provider creates a second set. Oh, it was actually later on in the same documentation. Second, so Crossplane provider creates a second set of CRDs that define how Crossplane connects to a non-Kubernetes service. Each. Oh, okay. So there's cloud service providers, but I'm thinking, are there other providers as well, or is this, or are providers in this case just cloud providers? I'm thinking it's cloud providers, but we'll see. Okay. So provider configuration for that provider. What is the resources getting managed? And then template for creating multiple managed resources at once. So if we go with our HTML website example, right? I could say, what do I need to deploy? To deploy an HTML website. Let's say I need a VM, right? We're gonna not gonna simplify it, but I'll need a VM. So that VM is gonna run inside some network. It's gonna need an IP address. It'll need a domain, right? If you think about it that way, right? So that I'm thinking that's what you would do in a composition, right? So you would create a VM, you would create an IP, attach an IP, some storage maybe, etc. Install something on it. So that would be, I'm thinking compositions. Multiple uses a composition template to create multiple manage. Yeah, and then maybe this composite resources would be like HTML website would be built with that, with different resources, right? Definitions and then claims, but this is namespace scoped. All right, so I'll need to see an example. So when installed, Crossplane pod, so I have to install it in my cluster. When installed, it sets an initial set of Kubernetes CRDs of the core Crossplane components. All right, and these are the things that we've seen up there, more or less. I think there's more of them here, but and then providers. So maybe we will need a like a cloud provider. So someone, Rajesh Kumar, is saying most providers are for cloud services, but Crossplane can use a provider to connect to any service with it. Oh, okay, so it was mostly for cloud, but you can use it for any API, right? Kind of makes sense. Yeah. All right. So configuration, manage resources. All right. So those are all that are listed there. Claims. Okay, that's way too much too many details at this point. But so let's see. What are we gonna do? Gonna do Azure? Which one is easier? I don't know. GCP. Yeah, let's do GCP. All right. So connect Crossplane to GCP to create and manage cloud resources from Kubernetes with the upbound GCP provider. Okay. So there's two parts. So part one is installing, configuring the provider to authenticate to GCP and creating a managed resource in GCP. Okay. So this is connecting. So it's creating a cluster. Oh, wait, but where does it run? Connect cross. So, okay. So I can create. Oh, okay, makes sense. So I can create it. I can use kind, right? I can use kind locally, I guess. Deploy Crossplane to it, but then configure Crossplane to talk to GCP and manage the resources there. Oh, okay, so it kind of makes sense. Yeah, we have that. I think I have that as well, and hopefully it will show me how to do this. But yeah. This way, it's saying you can use kind. All right, so let's do kind create cluster. So just quickly create a cluster. Yeah, GCP is the thing that we're going with. So Uh, maybe it's, I don't know which one is the easiest to configure and hook up. I know I'm not very experienced with AWS, so but anyway, we'll go with GCP. So let's see. All right, so this is coming up. The cluster is going to come up eventually. So the first thing that we do is we're going to install Crossplane. So we'll need to add the repo, install the Helm charts. Let's do that. All right, and we'll run dry run to see all the stuff that gets installed. So Crossplane system. Okay. Um, all right, I'm not going to look at this. I'm going to assume it's correct. And then we'll just go and install and see what gets installed. So everything will be in the Crossplane system. Oh, we got an error. Oh, it's running. All right, so RBAC Manager and Crossplane pod, I guess. Oh, we can see what's there. Crossplane system. System. All right, so it's up and running. So that's gonna create new Kubernetes API endpoints, and we can look at API resources and see what we get there. All right, let's do it this way, so it's easier to read. Yeah, so basically these are the ones that we saw on the previous page, right? So you have that. Now what we're gonna do is we'll use one of the resources, the first one that was mentioned there, right? So provider. So provider, we'll create that one, and GCP provider, GCP storage. So why is it called GCP storage? Is it storage specific, or is this just a naming quirk? Like, is this GCP for like everything, provider for everything, or just for storage? But we'll see. Oh, okay, it's just for storage. Ah, okay. Okay. All right. So let's do this one. So it created the provider. So we do provider, I guess. All right. So we have GCP storage. It's unknown. And we have upbound provider family, GCP. Let's do it. Can we do describe provider? Provider. I want to see if there's more information there. Oh, we can get provider, this one, YAML, right? We can see it this way. All right. So I'm assuming this one was created when I created the storage provider. It also created this provider family for GCP specifically, I guess. All right. So this will install the CRDs. Okay, so this will then install the CRDs for GCP. So if we list, can I grab GCP and it's going to show us? Yeah, there you go. All right. Okay, so the providers will then give you, like, depending on what provider you deploy, you're going to get specific CRDs, in this case for storage, right? So I'm assuming I'm assuming there's something like compute as well, like GCP provider for like provider GCP compute or something like that. And I would get an object called a VM, right? Or whatever machine, whatever they're calling it in GCP, right? But yeah, so this gives you a way to represent storage buckets and ACLs and notifications and whatnot and members and so on. Okay. All right. So the storage provider. Okay, so the second provider is the upbound provider family GCP. And what is this one? The family. Oh, this is the authentication. Oh, okay, so that one is like kind of a dependency, right? Well, the GCP storage needs some authentication in order to know how to connect back to GCP. So get CRDs. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's what it is, right? Every CRD maps to a unique GCP service. Makes sense. Okay, so there's something called marketplace, upbound marketplace. Oh, so this is the provider one that we deployed. And will this one tell us what is up? You know what? Is this a different way to install things? Maybe GCP provider family. Okay, I have that. Oh, it's using storage. Oh, and this will probably give us. Oh, okay, this is the same instructions. I'm assuming it here. All right. So the provider requires credentials to create and manage GCP resources. So provider use a Kubernetes secret. First, generate a Kubernetes secret from Google Cloud Service Account JSON file, and then configure the provider to use it. All right. So secret. All right. So let's see. This might be so enable, created a service account. Please explain. Okay, so I need to create the service account key. Oh, I can do it here? That's nice. Sure. I don't know what I'm logged in as, but let's see. Yeah, I think it's my personal accounts. Should be fine. Oh, look at that. It's my projects are there. All right, so I probably need to select a project. So let's do. Oh, come on! I got a badge. Oh yeah, got a badge. Let's see. I don't want to create a new project because I know that takes longer. So I'll just do one cloud native thing that I have there. All right, so enable the. I think I have this enabled. Require. Oh, Jesus. Just create me a key. I just need a key. Create a service key. There you go. Google Cloud Console. There we go. So execute, create to create a service account key. No, I don't want to leave a site. Okay. Name of the service account to create what? Can you fill this out for me? Project ID. Project ID is this, I'm assuming, right? Yeah. So let's see. Is there project? I think there might be set. Google Cloud Project ID. There you go. So that's my project ID. So I can paste it in here. What is the key file? I don't think it matters, right? I'll say private key.json. And what is the service account name? The name of the service account. What? What is the service account name here? Let's see. Let's see if they're telling us here. Let me go back to. Oh, but that's where it was, right? Identity. Can the service account name be like anything? Type service account, key ID, email. Yeah, I don't think that matters. I think this is just a name in the in GCP. So let's just call it Crossplane service account, right? And then we'll copy this. Yeah. I'm creating a new service account, so I'm assuming that's just a name. Oh no, I need to see. That's what it's. Maybe I should do it in the UI. Name of the service account to create a. What is? I don't have a service account, right? That's what I'm creating here. I'm assuming. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, service account is the name of your service account. What is my service account? Is this my service account? I don't think so. Is it? Let's see. Nah, that's not it. Can I list? Service accounts. Sign, remove, get, enable, describe, show, add, create. Where's that? List. There you go. List. So, oh, there you go. Default service account. Firebase admin. All right. So these are the ones. But this would be like a new name, right? Why is it looking to create a new one? Anyway, I'm going to log into the UI. I don't want to spend too much time on troubleshooting Google Cloud. So service accounts. There we go. So service accounts. If I'm going to create a new one here, yeah, so I can call it whatever, right? Why was it saying Crossplane service account? Service account for Crossplane. It's not telling me to give any specific permissions, right? Let me see. I think I had it here, right? Yeah, let's move this one here. No. So we're just creating one. Doesn't matter. Create, continue. I don't have to specify any roles, right? I don't have to do this either. Yeah, there you go. That was the one, right? No, wait. By Crossplane. That's the one. And then I can download the keys here somewhere, right? Manage keys, I guess. Or I have to create one, right? Create a new key, JSON. Yep. And then we'll download this thing. But why was this failing, right? That didn't make sense. But anyway, all right. So we have that. So I stored it somewhere. We'll find it. And then what we can do is, if I find my windows from here, we'll say kubectl create secret, a generic secret, call the GCP secret in the Crossplane system namespace from file. The value is going to be called creds, and the file is going to be, let's see, what's the, let me actually copy the users. I'm just copying from the desktop to that folder, so I don't have to users desktop. And what are we going to call it? GCP project Crossplane / GCP credentials.json. All right. So I have it here, so we can do GCP credentials.json. There you go. So we have the secret. So we can describe. So let's do describe secret. Oh, I can just copy here, so I don't have to type. There you go. So it looks very similar. All right. Okay. So create a provider config. I don't know why that thing didn't work though. From the Cloud Shell. But anyway, not going to worry about that now. All right. So next thing, we're going to create a provider config that is going to customize the settings for the GCP provider, and we have to include the GCP project ID. So let's copy this one and let's paste it up here. So we have to put in the project ID. Let me see what it was. So it was, is that the project ID? Oh, let me check in the. I think that's the one, but I just want to check. So project, where is it? Project ID. Oh yeah, it is Learn Cloud Native. Okay, so let's close this one. So the project ID is Learn Cloud Native. And then, okay, so you're creating configuration for the specific project, and then pointing to the resources, right? But pointing to the secret, I guess, that we created. So let's apply this one. Okay, so the config is created. So this will attach the GCP to, using that. Name of the Kubernetes, yes. Now, a managed resource. So managed resource is anything. Now we can do and go and create stuff, right? From Kubernetes, using Kubernetes API, create stuff in GCP. So managed resource is anything Crossplane creates and manages outside of Kubernetes cluster. So we'll create a GCP storage bucket, and this is a managed resource. So this is how we would create one. So let's just read it here again. So it's a bucket. That was one of the resources. So we're going to generate the name starting with this, and I'm assuming this will be whatever random thing is going to follow. Just some label, and then we're saying for provider. I think these are the settings for the provider, I guess. And we're saying that we want to create the bucket in the US location. And the provider config, we're referencing this one we called default, right? Hence the name default here. So let's create this. And, cannot use, oh, wait. Oh, it has to be create, not apply. All right, that's why. Create, my bad. There you go. So, yeah. So this is the random name, right? So I'm assuming the bucket will be named this, whatever the resource is named, right? So if we do, yeah, there you go. So we have a bucket. Wait. So this should now come up, I'm assuming, unless I messed it up somewhere. Oh, it can take up to 5 minutes. Okay. So in the meantime, let me check on GCP console. Let's see. And then we can do buckets. Buckets. Is that the one? Nothing yet. It does say it's going to take up to 5 minutes, right? But we'll see. How do I check? Well, I can check the status like this, but are there any logs? Maybe here? GCP, probably there, right? So logs, Crossplane system, provider. Whoops. Provider, GCP. Bah. Wah, wah, wah. Look at that. It failed. The specified bucket does not exist. Of course it does not exist because I wanted to create one, right? What is this doing now? Looks like it's trying to create one, but then it's failing to create it because it doesn't exist. Doesn't make sense. Or maybe it created it and now it's trying to access it. All right, so this looks like a failure. What? What? Anyway, so authenticating. Terraform is using. Okay. So it cannot connect. Is that what it's saying? But it's saying the bucket doesn't exist. This is weird, right? Because it should have failed. Like, I'm thinking if I messed up something by downloading, like with setting up the authentication, it would fail with a different error, right? It couldn't authenticate versus saying, oh, the bucket doesn't exist, right? Maybe it's because it's still creating it and that's why. We'll see. Bucket doesn't exist. All right. Let's see if there's anything happening here. Nope. I would expect something to see something here, right? Created the bucket. Yes, that makes sense. This may take up to 5 minutes. I don't look at the time, but all right. So then once you have it, you can go and delete the resource, right? Kind of makes sense because you can now use Kubernetes. I could theoretically edit the resource probably. And that would do the reconciliation and update and whatever it needs to do. I don't get why is this failing. But anyway, so what are the next steps here? Well, I'll keep it running and continue reading, and then we'll come back. Hopefully, in 5 minutes or less, it'll show up. So the second part will be creating a Crossplane composite resource and claim. Yes. Okay. So we did that. Oh, look at that. That's what I thought was with permissions to create. So I didn't add any permissions in the service account. Is that why it's failing? Did I go too quickly through this one? The provider requires to create it. Provider uses Kubernetes secret. Okay. Wait. Yeah, I don't know. Do I need specific permissions? I mean, to attach specific permissions to the service account. Let's see, service accounts. Where is it? This guy, right? Crossplay service account. So it doesn't have any. I didn't add any like specific access. So let's see. I don't want to do service account. No, it's not storage, right? There's no storage bucket. What? Wait. View by roles, editor, owner. So let's see what this thing can access. Resource preview principal two. List resources. Sure. Run query. We'll see if there's anything. All right. So maybe it's the issue that it doesn't have any permissions, but it didn't tell me. I mean, yeah, common sense maybe, but all right. So you can see the principals with access. You can allow specific users. No, grant access, right? So service account is what do we call it? Crossplane, right? Something cross. Whoops. Crossplane essay. Is that? Yeah, that's what I've called it. What? Oh, there's no. I don't want to add new principles, right? Oh, this is granting access to the. Oh, that's not it, right? Why is this so confusing? Manage access. There you go. Give user specific access to manage. No. Storage editor role. Yeah, let me try that one. Permissions, grant access. Yeah, but I need to add a principal, right? Are you saying the principal is storage? It's not, right? It's the role. Resource manager, Firebase, backup, quick access, basic. So view, create, and update most of okay, but I need to do a principal, right? And why doesn't this work, right? Oh, does it have to be whatever the email is? Oh, of course. Yeah. It's probably that whole. Let me see. Oh, it's probably this one. Yeah, I'm copying it from another screen. I'm thinking it's this. Yes. Yeah. All right. So we're giving it an editor role for the basic resources. Yeah, add as the same. Yeah, it's not a service account name. It's the whole at project name, IAM, and all that thing. Okay. But I can't seem to find the storage here. Storage. Yeah. Anyway, I'm thinking editor because this is create, like this says view create and delete most of the cloud resources. See the list of included permissions. I don't know where I can see the list, but let's save this. And this should now work. Oh, do I have to delete and then maybe? Oh, no, I don't have to re-export the file, right? So let's do get bucket, delete bucket. It's saying synced, but it's still false, right? Delete bucket. This guy. Yeah, but there's nothing to delete, right? Because it didn't even create one. Did I mess up everything now? Oh, now it's going to hang on deleting. Wait, why is this still giving me, not showing me anything? Let's see. Yeah, it has the editor role. I don't think there's anything else to set here, right? No. Ah, this is hanging now. Yeah, because it can't delete it, right? It's not gonna. Crossplane system. Yeah, there's ugh. Let's try this. I want to get this created. So create so let's see if the second, oh, now it deleted it, right? Okay. So let's see. Yeah, this doesn't make sense now. Yeah, but why is it 404? If I don't have permissions, shouldn't like give me a different error then? All right. Um, let's see. Crossplane system. Do I restart this and see what happens? That's Crossplane. There you go. I knew it. I should have picked something else, not any of the cloud providers. All right. All right, so let's see if that picks up once it's done. All right, so quick start one, and then yeah, so this is just showing me the same thing to continue. Yeah, I think they should explicitly call out, make sure that the service account you create actually has some access to to has the permissions and access um, to create the bucket in this case. Now I see it's failing, right? Yeah, and I can recreate the secret, but I don't think that'll make any difference, right? Uh, so okay, create a custom API. So what is that? Custom API. Wait, pops up provider. I'm not gonna do that because that's if this is not working, I don't think this will work either. But so Crossplane allows you to build your own custom API. Okay, so let's look at this one. You can make your API. The custom API is a Kubernetes object. Here's an example custom API. Okay. To create your own API, the group can be any value. Okay, but for example, define a spec to install. Okay, I'm trying to understand. All right, so there you go. So I'm using composite resource definition resource to create a new API, pub sub API, and just like specifying how the spec looks like and any other stuff. Claim names. Okay. Fields. All right. So, and then I basically, oh, okay. So you can create, so we could create something like, so I copy this one. We could call this whatever it is, right? We could say HTML website, right? That example, just for the sake of example, right? And then kind will be HTML website, and then HTML websites, object, and then we can do location is either UA. Yeah, let's leave this as is, and then we could also do title of the page, whatever. It doesn't. I'm making stuff up here now, right? But and this one would be required as well, and then you could say HTML body, right? Or just body, right? Body type string, and this one would be required as well. Why not, right? Body referenceable claim kind pops up claims, HTML website claims, HTML website claim. Wait, let me call this. Oops, HTML website claims. All right, so this is nice, right? I just don't know how this will get like. Oh, okay. So this is where you like connect everything together, I guess. But let's create this one just for fun. So let's do this. Whoops. What? Oh, spec names plural plus spec name group. Okay, so wait. I know the naming was off. Okay, so it has to be HTML website front end, whatever, right? And this would be then front end, right? I'm bad at naming things. What? Spec name plurals. What? So let's read the error. So HTML website front end example. So this is invalid. Valid value must be spec names plural. So HTML websites. Oh, it has to be websites, the plural. Never mind. I think. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Naming. Weird naming. Get XRD. What is XRD again? Composite resource definition. Yes. Yeah. So composite resource definition. So there you go. So now we have this. So now you could theoretically create HTML website resource, right? And then there's also the claims created. I still don't understand what claims are, but we'll get there. So when the user accesses when users access the custom API, it takes the inputs and combines them with a template describing what infrastructure to deploy. Crossplane calls this template a composition. Okay. All right. So this is where you do the logic without writing the code, I think, right? So you created your resource, but now you need the part that actually tells you how to, what do you want, what is this, what is an HTML website, right? You need to like put it together somehow, right? And this is what the deployment template does, which is called composition. So it will define all the cloud resources to deploy. Each entry in the template is a full resource definitions, is a full resource. Each entry in the template is a full resource definitions defining all the resource settings and metadata, labels, annotations, etc. So this template will create so it's going to create a storage bucket and a pub sub topic in this example. For our example, we could create a storage bucket or a folder inside a storage bucket. Oh, we would create a new one, right? New storage bucket. I didn't say it was efficient. New storage bucket, and then we would create a file called index.html with like this title, and the body would be the contents of the file, for example, right? Crossplane uses patches to apply the user's input to the resource template. This composition takes the location and use it as a location. Okay, so it passes through so we would pass through this location to the actual resource that needs it to create it in that location, right? But it's going to be anything else, right? So this is how it looks like. So it's a composition topic with a bucket, name of the resource, and then it's referencing the resource that the bucket resource, right? And then it's using patches. Oh, this is convoluted, but I get it. It's just it's not very, it doesn't seem very user friendly. But yeah, so you're basically defining the resource, and then you're saying you want to patch. I'm assuming this resource to spec.location, grab it from spec.location, I think, and put it into this spec for provider location value, like patch it like that, right? And then this spec.location should be somewhere. How does it know where is it from field? But where is it referencing the, what was it called? Pub sub topic with a bucket. There's no mention of Oh, there it is. Oh, that's PubSub. Never mind. PubSub. Oh, this guy. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is what it's saying. Okay, so use. So this is my API that I created, right? This is the well, not the. This is the resource that has all the values. So I want you to use like load this up. Remember all the values that someone said there, and then it's saying I want to create a bucket and I want to create a PubSub topic, and you specify the values, right? But then you're also specifying patches and saying, well, whatever this referenced resource is, take the spec.location field value and replace it, right, with this guy, with the value that's set here in the bucket, right? It's a spec for provider location. And then it also has the transforms, which is, oh, this is just doing the mapping, right? So you could theoretically have a different value in your resource, and then you could map it here to the value that the underlying resource understands. Okay. And then the same thing here for provider. Like this is how you define the PubSub thing, PubSub topic. And then you're doing the patch, same thing. You're taking the location. So let's see, if I would copy this, I'm not going to run it. And I'll just paste it here. I'm just trying to validate my understanding. I could do something like, so this would be my website. So bucket would stay the same, right? This would stay the same. But then let's say, and I don't know if there's a resource to create like an actual file, but let's say let's say this thing knows how to take like a file name or something, right? So file contents, right? Some contents and then file name. This is not the right thing to do, but I'm just trying to understand. Validate my understanding with someone. Hopefully, someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But so, assuming this bucket resource or whatever it is had like a file contents and file name fields, then we would do something like this. We have it for location, and we do something here that says, "Oops, oh, that was fine." Spec dot. What do we call it here? Title, right? Title, right? So grabbing it from this resource, and then for provider, file name, right? And then we would do, I don't know what the transform is here, but let's say there's none, right? We would just take the direct value, right? And then you would do the same for file contents, I guess, right? What do we call it there? Body, and this would be file contents, right, or something like that, right? And then this would translate. Let's say we could have different resources here as well. But all right, so it's not. I don't know if they have like a UI version of this, but this would be much easier to do in the UI. I'm thinking leave it like you have to have it from from code. I get it. I mean from command line for GitOps and all that, right? But it's just very hard to parse and figure it out, right? And then this one would be basically this, right? Right, we would reference whatever our resource was, right? The only thing that's, how does it know which oh, this is just a generic one. Okay, this is just a generic composition. A generic composition. Let's see. Oh, okay. It's a generic composition, so it knows whenever there's a resource of the PubSub type created, this is how you map, and this is what you do, and this is how you create it. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Okay, delete. Oh, let's see. Let's see if anything happened with our storage. Oh, get bucket, right? Get bucket. Yeah, nothing. It's not. It's probably still like spinning its wheels. Yeah, it's not found. I don't know why, but anyway. Using the API with namespaces. Oh, and then you can scope it down. You can have it namespace scoped if you want to. And this is where the claims come in. Isolate Crossplane claim is the custom. Oh, okay. So claim is the custom API in a namespace. So you could define the custom APIs in like and have them namespace scoped. Okay, that was interesting. I know it's hard to write. Like whenever you involve, whatever your product depends on, like a cloud provider, any cloud provider, it always like makes your walkthroughs and quick starts not really quick anymore. But I was hoping there's, let's see, disaster recovery, right, composition function and Go, some new feature. I would hope that there's some other, they would have like a quicker quick start, you know. Uh, but I know this is where the actual, like, there's a value here. There's more values here, but more value here, I guess. Um, but uh, yeah, let's see what's in the guide. So composition function, just function, sure. The template crossplane resources. Oh, okay. So you can write a function instead of doing this thing here on the right. I'm thinking. All right. So composition function for X. Okay. Install the tools. Go Docker. Okay. Crossplane. All right. What is Crossplane? Is that their CLI probably? And then you create a function. I want to see how the code looks like. Okay, so this seems like it's a lighter version of a Kubernetes controller, maybe, right? Uh, you don't have to, like, if you've ever created a Kubernetes controller, there's like a lot of things that get auto generated and a lot of stuff, and can be very very overwhelming. But this one looks like it's maybe a simpler version. It seems like there's only a couple of files, not as many as when you create a controller. Yeah, I mean, interesting. I'm kind of bummed that I couldn't get the basic thing working, which it's probably my fault for not knowing GCP enough. Uh, but anyway, yeah, we're at the hour. Thanks everyone for watching. If you're sticking here for long enough, and yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thanks and bye.